and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would. At this moment, obviously, the day is a very important one in American history. It is 9/11. I would like to ask all of you to stand and take if you feel the need, I would like to ask you for a moment of silence. Remember those who gave their lives on 9/11. Thank you. So thank you for the large crowd. Thank you for everyone in attendance tonight. Definitely as part of the process, so I appreciate you being here. And also, I'm not sure who is on Zoom land, but I see Dwayne anyway, so thank you for being here and being present. The first order of business are the public announcements. Details may be found at www.fairfieldme.com. Number one, the first quarter property taxes are due September 26, 2024, and may be processed online, in person, over the phone, mailed, or via the drop box located at 19 Lawrence Avenue. Number two, the annual Household Hazardous Waste Day will take place Saturday, October 19th, 8 to 12 p.m. at the Winslow Public Works Garage. Residents of Fairfield must pre-register by calling or in person at the Fairfield Town Office to participate. Number three, the absentee ballot request forms for the November 5th, 2024 election are available at the Town Office or through the Secretary of State's website. And number four, the Lawrence Public Library comprehensive program details online and via LPL social media. New this summer, the patron pass to the coastal Maine Botanical Gardens through until October 20th. Call LPL for the details. And September is library card sign-up month. Help us get 50 new patrons. Please call the library for more information. Second order of business, public hearings. There are none. So the third order of business, public comments. Stephanie, do you wish to talk about public comments as my vice chair?
People who would like to speak at this time will have 3 minutes at the podium. Please state your name and if you're, what town you're from, which I hope is Fairfield. And basically, that's it.
If there are also you may email comments to the council at info@fairfield-me.gov by 4 p.m. day of meeting. We can start, the submitted content may be read aloud at this time if we have any.
We have none.
All right. So all those in present, maybe we can start speaking.
Right, and is there a paper up on the podium for people to sign their names for this?
They don't need to sign in
Okay.
for public comment.
All right.
It's only public hearings.
Okay.
All right, my name is Kevin Kitchen. I live on Howell Road in Fairfield. I'm here representing the ATV Club. I just want to update the council on what we have been working on with the grant, the municipal grant that we had talked about. I met with the town manager Monday. We submitted our first grant, reimbursable, close to $30,000, and we have about $45,000 remaining of our municipal grant. We anticipate talking to the town manager to get some of those invoices paid this week, and we'll be turning in our second round. So again, I thank you guys for supporting the club and the town manager for working with the state with us on that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hello, hello. Carol Ann Bagnulo, B-A-G-N-U-L-O. Because I know she doesn't know me. Or Bagnulo. Anyway, I'm from Fairfield. I just wanted to say that this coming Monday at the gazebo in the park on High Street, we will have a meeting, come together looking for volunteers, looking for ideas of how to decorate the gazebo for Christmas this year. So Sarah Tully's in charge of it. We'll all be there ready, and I know Mr. Townsend is doing a Christmas tree again this year. On top of our Christmas tree in the gazebo, he will put one outside the gazebo as well. So
6 o'clock Monday.
6
Yeah,
o'clock
that's 2 minutes.
Monday.
I thought it was 6
Perfect.
o'clock.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Carrie Allen, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Tim Martin, 6 Rod Road. First, I wanted to thank Public Works for the excellent job. They paved my road for first time probably 20 years. I'd like to thank Town Council for your unthankless job most of the time, and also especially Mr. Pisciatti, who I understand is not running for re-election. Thank you for all your dedicated years of service, not only to the town, but also as a state rep. I just want to introduce myself one more time, Tim Martin, and I'll be one of your candidates running for town council in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Anybody else wishing to speak tonight?
Good evening, Council. Good evening, people out in the VIA land. Michelle, just wanted to come up. Mr. Pisciatti, thank you for all the years of service on the council. Also wanted to just come up here and let everybody know that I am going to be another nominee for running for the council for the Fairfield. Been out for several weeks now, meeting several hundreds and hundreds of people, getting very good feedback, and hopefully I will be able to share it with you folks soon to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
The pregnant pause, waiting. Anybody else? Thank you very much. I appreciate the interest and the comments. Anything, again, looks like nobody online.
No, and did anybody want to speak on an item on the agenda, further down the agenda, and want to reserve that place to speak at that time? Nope. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So the fourth order of business, the reports from staff and committees. So first is our town manager report. Michelle?
All right, so on August 27th, Fire Chief Leary and I met with Delta at their request regarding the future of Fairfield services, so those conversations continue to happen. Also on the 27th, I attended the PFAS committee meeting, which Councillor Townsend can update you on. And then on the 27th, the Central Maine Growth Council, on the town's behalf, sent out a press release regarding the Parks and Recreation Survey. The announcement is on the town's Facebook page with a link for completing the survey online, and hard copies are also available at the town office. Deadline for the survey is September 27th. The link to that is not on our website yet, but we will be working to get that up hopefully sometime tomorrow. And then the 29th, I did attend Maine Municipal Association's Legislative Policy Committee meeting all day in Augusta, and then attended a First Park Executive Board meeting in Oakland. We met with 2 prospective buyers for several lots in the park. The 3rd of September, attended the Economic Community Development meeting, which Councillor Thibodeau will let you know about. The September 9th, attended an emergency KRDA Executive Board meeting to discuss and vote on a purchase and sales agreement for those lots that we had discussed the previous week. So there's great things happening over there. And then just as a general update, Monument Park, if folks haven't noticed yet and you haven't been by, Public Works has been removing all of the existing walkways and asphalt that's in that park, and they're going to be prepping for new pavement. The new walkways will be 5 feet wide, which are more handicap accessible than the original, in some places slightly less than 3 feet wide ones that we had. So that will be really good and get that area done. Plus there'll be a large paved circle area in the center where those 2 paths cross, where hopefully we'll be able to be putting in some seating. So is the future plan. So, and that's it for me.
Any questions for Michelle? Very good. So committee reports. Economic Development.
Thank you. The Economic Committee met, and we are proceeding with the downtown plan, and the next time we meet, we will be doing a workshop on the basic outline of the downtown plan and exactly what areas encompass the downtown. And primarily, when you think of downtown, how far do you want to go? Well, we're currently thinking it's places that you want to walk to. So when we take a look at all the businesses that we have along 201, how far north do we go, or excuse me, west do we go, because there's businesses going down Western Avenue. We're actually going to be taking a look at the maps and plotting out where exactly is the, quote, the downtown. So that's what we're going to be doing in October. We're also proceeding with grants for Mill Island Park. Phase 1 of Mill Island Park is to rehabilitate the walking trails on Mill Island and make them ADA accessible. And to do that, we need to have some grants. So the survey that Michelle spoke about, that's going to help guide us so that we can get some grants. We need to have input from the public. So if you haven't filled out that survey, it would be, I hope you will, because your information will be counted and be used as we look forward to getting grants for Mill Island Park. I don't want us to use taxpayers' money for what we're going to do on Mill Island Park, except when you think about it, some of grants do need matching funds, and I don't want to even use that if I don't have to. So if you could do some, the survey, that would help us for Mill Island Park and our grant writing, so thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Any questions for Stephanie on that end? So actually, the one would be about the downtown. So that's going to be that workshop. That's going
It's
to be
a
at the next
workshop.
meeting.
Our next
Yeah,
meeting's going to be a workshop,
Yeah.
so.
Any thoughts as you go forward, if we do something like we did with Mill Island, which is going to be like a larger
It's the
workshop?
same process.
Any thought about doing that in the
Yeah.
evening sometime?
Yeah, yeah.
Farther on?
This is going to be the run-through for the committee,
Yep.
and once we've done it, then we're going to ask the public to come here to the community center on one night and go through a mapping process for the downtown. So this is just our run-through by ourselves as a committee, so.
Thanks.
You're
Thank you.
welcome, thank you for reminding me.
So the other one would be, I don't think we have anything on buildings.
Just waiting from the town, this thing involved on the fire station itself.
So thank you. And for me, I actually would talk about the PFAS committee. So we met on the 27th. At that point, we we looked back at a letter from the state, kind of confirming what we thought was the case, but actually to have it in person in writing from them, which is the fact that they're going to follow their current methodology for assessing PFAS areas of contamination throughout the state. They will not be kind of revisiting the new change of the federal level, which is down to, from 20 parts down to 4 parts per trillion. So that's only applying really to public water drinking, water systems. And so with that being said, they, at this point, we even in their letter talking about only 30% of the sites have been identified or addressed, and funding is running lower. So anywhere between 2 to 5 years. So I suspect as we go through, we'll be looking more at 2 or so years left of funding. And in their letter, they left it open, but not real hopeful that they would, that when that time period runs out and the money runs out, that many of us who are on drinking water systems or the filter systems would be left to take care of those expenses on their own. So those things are still, we need to push from our end to make sure that we continue to try to get as much funding as possible for Fairfield and for other towns that are like us. But obviously we are kind of the epicenter of this issue. So that's going to be our focus. And then as a focus as a committee, we're trying to really make sure we hit our mission statement and provide guidance to the town council to make choices moving forward. And we're looking at other options for filtration systems, how those might work, and remediation, and making sure that we have a kind of base for us, a toolkit for people who are either moving here and want to know more about it, for people that live here and want to know more about it, the resources that are available. Many of those resources are available on the town website, but trying to make it in a very user-friendly method is something we want to focus on. So that's a big part of our goal, is to have the educational plan for us. Sure. Yeah, I mean, go ahead. That's not the, but yes, so if you have questions, I can try to answer.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Ronald McLagan also. where I've been out in the public, I just want to ask a quick question. I've had a couple people in recent days, one of them asking me to ask you, they've been tested, and it's been 2 years since they've been tested, and they have never had a follow-up. Now, they're getting their drinking water handed to them in their Poland Springs every week now. How do they go about getting more information on that?
So yeah, that is a DEP question.
Okay, so have them get a hold of DEP then?
DEP, I would encourage, and we've talked about that with some people that we've seen, if they're having issues, we'd love to just hear about it. So we would like to know if people are having those kind of issues, so we can have some information to then approach the state.
Okay.
So that'd be helpful for us.
And the second one is, I just saw one last night over on the Ridge Road. They have a filtration system put in, and he was saying that he was under the understanding that that was going to be taken care of forever by them. So obviously, we need to get some information out there to the people that obviously it is not.
That's
going
exactly right, and that's why we talk about this in this
I'm
committee.
just bringing this to
Yeah,
you,
no,
obviously stuff that I'm seeing out
Right,
there in the...
and we're hearing that too, people are under the assumptions that they were covered.
Yes.
And I think that's a real problem, and that's why it's important, why we started this committee and why we're trying to push forward, to make sure that people have that information, to make sure the people that aren't forgotten about. So,
Just reaching out to these people, obviously transparency would
Yep.
usually... Thank you.
No, that's why we're here.
What was the number of years? 2 to 4 for
2 to
main-
5.
2 to
I
5?
really suspect it'll be closer to, I suspect it'll be closer to 2.
Really?
And we just saw, obviously, good or bad, what we saw what happened in Brunswick this last couple weeks. And so that brings out on the forefront again. But that also takes, there'll be some push from other areas of the state. So Brunswick, the representative there is launching a bunch of different bills as soon as the legislature starts. So that may be, we'll see what happens.
Was there any discussion on extending public water?
That's part of the recommendation to the town, like what do we look at for water systems? Is that long-term filtration? Is that public water? Public water where? All those things. So that can then be turned over to the town to kind of say, here are your options, what works best for you, and what works best for the community.
Okay, thank you.
John, anything to add on that?
No, I think we're,
If I may ask, actually, Kevin and Max, so Kevin Kitchen, Max Kinney are on that committee. Any additions that you would like that I missed? Good, thank you. So now, moving on to the fifth order of business, the consent agenda. These items are considered routine or standard business and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests prior to the consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. Item 24-125, order the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes for meeting number 2024-16 held on August 21st, 2024. Item 24-126, order that the Town Council hereby approves Treasurer's Warrant number 69, General Fund, the amount of $1,782,967.86, not limited to the Somerset County Tax Bill, MSAD 49, and Maine Municipal Employees Health Trust, 6/30/2024, and the Treasurer's Warrant number 132, General Fund, in the amount of $27 million. Sorry, there should be another dot there, should be $27,935.06. For Deer Veterinary Care, my bill was only $150, so my bill was only $150 for that. Okay, so, not the $27,000. And Yankee Communications, fiscal year ending 6/30/2025.
So moved.
second.
Motion is second, any discussion? Yes, Michelle?
Can I just do a correction for a typo? That should have been item 24-129 and 24-130.
There you go, thank you very much.
You have a motion in a second.
Yep, motion is second, all those in favor? Thank you. The sixth order of business, to take action on the following items of business as read by the council chair. Item 24-131, order the town council hereby confirms the town manager's appointment of Brittany Garrett as town clerk, register of voters, and welfare director.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question. This was a perception by the residents. I noticed that nothing is Brittany. She was the admin assistant, and we didn't see the town clerk's position advertised, because I know it was a short time frame. But
We by law are required to not have a gap in time frame for the town clerk.
right.
By law.
Okay.
And therefore, it was an internal, in-house promotion.
Good question.
Policy, just for clarification on policy on that, understand it's a law. Is there probationary, is there temporary, not in this case, just to avoid something like that? To then be posted or to be offered
Not when it
internally?
comes to this position. You are actually required to immediately have another one. In fact, we had a call from the Secretary of State's office Tuesday morning because
So,
we had to have
Out
it.
of curiosity, if we didn't have a qualified candidate for the position, what would the town have done?
We would have had to have appointed someone in the interim.
Okay. So it could have been an interim appointment.
Could have been an
Job posting.
interim appointment, yeah.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
I do want to take the moment, I was going to wait till other council business. I do want to give a kudos to Brittany with how fast she is taking on a lot of responsibilities. I've noticed a significant improvement in the town website, some of the graphics that you've created, so I want to thank you for that. Some folks had been asking about some job postings that weren't up. As of today, I did confirm they are working, so I'm not going to plug them again, but I will. Crossroads TV, you hear that, Chad? He's got a position posted. It is a working link to a PDF, as well as Brittany's old position and others. But so thank you. That was nice to see.
Thank you, yeah. I think that's definitely in order, so I appreciate you being here. So all those, we have motion and second discussion. All those in favor? Thank you. Item 24-132, order the town council hereby selects a voting delegate and alternate voting delegate to represent the town of Fairfield for the October 2nd, 2024 Maine Municipal Association Annual Business Meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second.
I want to say this is a worthwhile event to attend.
October
I
2nd
did that
is-
in I think my first or second year as a counselor. You will learn a lot about municipal
It's a Wednesday.
running and things like that, about the business and things like that. So if anyone wants to go, it's worthwhile going.
It is a Wednesday.
Who served prior?
I plan on attending and have been appointed in the last several years.
Okay.
And then just as an alternate, I don't know if we have to do the alternate Michelle last time, do you remember?
I think it was me, wasn't
I
it?
think so.
It was either you or Peter, I think.
Yeah.
I
This one.
wasn't sure which one the alternate. I don't even know if
I
we
can
appointed
be
an
the
alternate
alternate
last time,
this
but
year.
you'd be the alternate.
Okay,
Oh.
that works.
So you'd need to do a friendly amendment for me, and then Stephanie is the alternate.
Stephanie is the alternate, yep.
So I can't do the.
I'll make the
You make
motion
the
that
motion.
Michelle is the voting delegate with Stephanie is the alternate voting delegate to represent the town of Fairfield for October 2nd, 2024 Maine Municipal Association Annual Business Meeting.
Second.
Very good. All those in favor?
I'm abstaining.
Yep. And item 24-133, order the town council hereby signs a proclamation designated September 17th through the 23rd, 2024 as Constitution Week.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, discussion. Stephanie?
Back in the days when I was teaching, I don't know if you all heard this or not earlier, but it's actually the law that during Constitution Week, every classroom teacher in the state of Maine is supposed to emphasize the importance of the Constitution, and it's often overlooked, probably more often than not. And I was so pleased to see this in our packet, and I was just wondering how this happened to come about.
So members of the Daughters of the American Revolution came to see us, and they actually came to see us Monday morning. So they have come before in the past, but it has been after. The timing wasn't right, and it was after Constitution Week and that kind of stuff. So they got here just under the skin of their teeth, quite frankly. So we were able to, Monday morning, add this to your agenda, which is why it wasn't on the original posting from last week. And that way we were able to get it done ahead of next week, so.
Well, this is a wonderful tribute to our country, and I hope that every parent out there will take time to maybe go to the library and get a children's book and read it with their kids. Every homeschooling parent and every classroom teacher out here, take some time to recognize the importance of our United States Constitution.
Or in the homeschool, parents that does homeschool have their students write about the Constitution.
That would be up to them, but to
Right.
recognize it and just to know what the Constitution would be a wonderful activity. And in today's world, for older kids, it's a very good conversation to have. So,
So, any more discussion? Oh, hearing none. All those in favor? Thank you very much. The seventh order of business, council workshop and other business. So the big one, discuss the 2024-2025 tax commitment. So I think there are lots of questions and lots of concerns, and I think the biggest one is, to me, I'm not sure what you all think, but we talk about having a budget that we work very hard to have a relatively small increase as a municipal level. And then when you're looking at your individual tax bill, like, it doesn't quite jive with that. So I think trying to look at how the process is done and how we get to where we're at and what those percentages and what those numbers look like are important. And that amazingly, municipal taxes and the raising of those taxes and how it goes about is kind of complicated. Seems simple, but it's relatively complicated, but it is easily explained. So I think that would be where I'd like to go with this tonight, and obviously make sure that people have their questions answered.
Also, too, the perception on, too, what was mentioned at the council meeting about the certain percentage. A lot of residents didn't understand the perception of that, so
I think it's important.
more explaining of that is needed.
right, and I think it's important too for people to realize that our tax ratio is at 59%, when the state hopes that every municipality is at about 80%, 79? 100. 100%. So when we are at 59%, what does that mean for us as a municipality? It means that we don't get extra money for revenue from the state. So where does the money come from then that's going to be needed to keep our services in line? And it would have to come through taxation. One way that we can remedy that is to do a reval, and that's what's going on now. And the reval process is going to take multiple years, and it has to be done throughout the state of Maine, and it should be done within 10 years. For us, it's been 10 years since we've had a tax reval. And they started last year doing the reval. The whole town has been broken up into zones, and I believe the zones are mentioned. You can get a link on it on our town website. And it's through this process, people have to realize that in order to stay competitive in today's market, you do need to have a reval. And I think we're learning a lesson from COVID when people were buying houses at twice what the asking price was. And, as a homeowner myself, I would love to think I can get more than $179,000 for my house. And I think that would be wonderful. But anyways, I'm getting off the point. The point is, we need to increase our tax ratio. We're at 80% now. The plan is that for 3 years in a row, you're going to see an increase in your taxes, which is going to be better than getting a one lump sum big amount after 3 years. So you can start to do your budgeting more easily for that. And we're all in the same boat. People who've done work on their house and they didn't get a permit, there's a situation that you might be shocked with if it was an extensive one. If you did get a permit, the code enforcement agent officer would go and make note of that, and hopefully it got recorded on your tax property. And that will help too. I feel badly that some people are going to have a really large one, but it's something that just has to be done. And for us as a municipality, I would like to think that we're able to get the revenue from the state and not be penalized because we're not at a certain percentage point. So it's something for me that I know and understand it was long overdue. If you want to, it's amazing. I had Michelle show me how the tax assessor goes and does a tax assessment. You would not believe the number of pages and forms for everything that is accountable on somebody's property, and I had no idea. And so 2 weeks ago, we received, before the tax bills came out, we received the BEAT municipal tax rate calculation form. We had voted as a council to spend up to $950,000 of taxation to offset the cost of property taxes. We've used all of that $950,000 to help offset the taxes. It's, I know it's your money that you put in, and I know that taxes still went up, but again, it had to be done in order for us to keep the revenues coming in from the state. Would you guys like to add anything?
I think a couple, real quickly. One is actually the revaluation process. There's the big revaluation process that we're going through all the different sections of the town. But there's the one that was done because an automatic situation with this year went up 32.5% for the land values. And I'm not sure where that looks like over the next couple of years, Michelle, what that number, probably, I don't know if we know that number right now, or if there's a guesstimate of what that might be.
So there's a guesstimate that it could be very much similar, but I can come back and answer your questions if you want. It's like there's some things that Stephanie mentioned too that I need to clarify.
Yeah,
but so the reason for that is and this would help clarify the piece.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
The tax ratio that Councilor Thibodeau was talking about, just for folks at home or folks that are here that don't know, is our deviation of our municipal assessed value on your property to regular real estate market values. So what your home would sell for is what it should be assessed for. And when the state comes every year and they go through a sales analysis of every property in town that is sold, and they compare the sale price to the assessed value price, they come up with a ratio as to where you're supposed to be. So the ideal piece is to be at 100%. Assessed value is supposed to equal market value. What happened is that because of the sales that happened during COVID, we went from 100% assessment value to 59% assessed value in 3 years. So it's not that we put off doing a tax reval because we kicked the can down the road. It's that we were still at 100% assessment ratio. And then we dropped to 87%, I think it was, then 78%, and now this year 59%. So because that put us below the 70, that's what triggered the automatic increase in the tax value, in the assessed values.
So those listening here or at home, when you say 70, I know where that number comes from, but where does that number come from?
So that is the variation between what our assessed values are and what the market was calling for in that given year. Meaning our assessed values were 78% less than what homes were selling for on the market as an average. That's what that means. So we got down to the 59, which triggered the need to add the 32.5% increase to the value, which is the tax table. And as Councilor Thibodeau mentioned, if you've never seen your tax card, you should go look at it. In that tax card is for every single property. It breaks down everything from how many bedrooms are in a home, do you have a deck, do you have a finished basement, is it clapboards, is it vinyl siding, is it a metal roof? All of those things have factors in your value. And everybody who has questions about their value should talk to the tax assessor about those. That's available. You can get a copy of your tax card at any time. We have those at the town office. And folks should always look at those. We encourage new homeowners to look at them all the time. So that piece is the reason why that factor of that 32.5% was done. What that did is that just increased those values by 32.5%, not the 40, 50, 60% that it needs to increase. So this put us at a certified ratio of 85%. So we still have more to go next year. We're not at 100%, but this got us to a point where we were able to continue to receive the revenues that we receive from the state and not be penalized by that. And continue to go forward.
Can I ask a question on that? I was waiting to see if you'd clarify it, because I had a pit in my stomach, as I'm sure a few people did when they heard 3 years in a row of about the same increase. Well, you said tax increase. I just want to be clear that you meant, hold on, Peter, that you meant a property value
Property
increase.
values.
I just want to make that very clear, because I saw the looks out there of what? Because that doesn't necessarily mean your taxes are going up the same. I'm not saying it will, I'm not saying it won't.
Right.
We don't know what the market will do. But hearing that we're at 85%, we were at 59%,
Right.
I just wanted to make sure
Thank you,
you meant
Adam.
property values were going to go up
Property
the
Yeah,
next 3
it's a
years.
matter, it's simply a matter of adjusting your mill rate every year to
Correct.
to keep
We're
our
told-
prices down and that, and so the mill rate comes down so that we keep our level and make our budget even.
Okay, in our meeting Tuesday, the Economic Committee meeting was briefed that every year will be 1/3 increase.
To property value.
1/3, yeah.
Okay.
So taxes might go up.
They might.
It has the potential.
But if the cost is flat, the mill rate would offset equally. We have to get there to figure it out.
Right.
I just don't want to create panic by saying taxes are going to go up for 3 years.
Yeah. Question?
Yeah.
You said the property value would increase by 1/3 every year?
It has the potential to.
We don't know.
We don't know.
But when we're at 100%, we'll cap it there.
It stays
Is
there.
that correct?
Yep, stays there.
Gotcha. And then it's adjusted every year from now on?
And so, one of the other bigger influences with this, let me show you, I'll share my screen here for folks. Believe it or not, the homestead exemption on your tax bill that folks have, right, is supposed to be at 25%. I mean, at $25,000. This is something that is kind of interesting, because math is tricky. Oh, come on, move. We increased the homestead exemption because we went from the 78% of assessed value to the 85%. Okay, so instead of your homestead exemption being at the 25,000 like it's supposed to be, when you are at 100% of assessment, that all of those deductions get changed. And they're offset by the same exact ratio. So like if you get the veterans exemption, you only get 78% of the veterans exemption, those sorts of things. I was trying to get this bigger, but it's not working. So that folks in the back can see it, but maybe this will work. There we go. So you have the homestead exemption. Well, there's too many things on my screen. Okay, so the homestead exemption, this is what it was last year on your tax bill. It was this $19,500. So this year we moved to 85%, so it went to $21,250. Last year's mill rate was $21,500. This year's mill rate is $18,500. The homestead exemption was worth more to you when the exemption was $19,500 than it is when it's at $21,250 because the mill rate dropped. The state only reimburses the 76%. So last year for the homestead exemption, for every homeowner that had it, we received $318.63 to offset that tax. That tax then in turn, that remainder, the difference between the $419.25, we actually have to make up for in the rest of the commitment. Sometimes exemptions are not necessarily exemptions, they just look good. This year, it came out to $393.13, but the state's only given us $298.78. So the homestead exemption, while it looks like it's more money on your tax bill, actually in the commitment represented a $30,000 loss in the revenue that we received for the municipality. Nope, that's gonna be too big, sorry. Okay, so this is last year's homestead reimbursement, the $531,188. This year, we're only gonna receive $500,293. So that was almost a $31,000 loss in revenue from the homestead reimbursement. We had a $150,000 loss in projected revenue from municipal revenue sharing. And then we also had a loss in the Betty program. And the Betty program is basically businesses that have personal property taxes. If you have new equipment that you bring into your new business, it most of the time is tax exempt, and the state refunds a portion of that. That rate that they refund goes down every year. So we had a loss in that. So our revenues from one year to the next went down almost $120,000. So you have to make up that value in the taxes. And our expenses increased by almost $800,000, made up of various things. The county tax, municipal appropriation, the TIF financing plan, and education, and then the overlay, which is the remainder that's in the math for the calculation. So with all of those pieces in play, that's the reason why folks saw such a substantial change in their taxes, is because one, their values increased, but the mill rate dropped. But at the end of the day, you still have to raise the same amount of money, right? If you need $12 and your house is worth $6, I'm gonna multiply it by 2. If you need $12 and your house is worth 3, I'm gonna multiply it by 4. Same thing, I still need $12. So the way this worked is budgets were up all across the board for all of us, some more than others. And then revenues that we used to offset all of it, mainly the municipal side, were down. And that's where the increases came from. And that's where we're at.
Would you mind clarifying something for me on the municipal appropriations and et cetera, including our state rep that made a comment asking how come that percentage went up so much more? I envisioned it as because there are revenues that offset the amount we need to tax. So the municipal appropriation, the county appropriation, and the school budget appropriation. Some people were reading that as, why is that up so much more than the year prior? Basically going through these numbers, are you saying that with state revenues down, exemption reimbursements down, budgets up slightly, municipal appropriation I'm looking at in particular, that would cause those percentages to appear that a large percent of your tax dollars is actually going to the municipal appropriation?
Yeah, and I'm not sure why someone would think that. So the county tax bill in general doesn't have any revenue in our calculation that offsets it. It's just the county tax bill. Okay, so that was up $70,000. The municipal appropriation is up $260,696, and the TIF finance amount is up $54, because when you have TIF districts, you lock in the property value. Well, that 32.5 adjustment affected those properties as well. So they also saw an increase in value, which we also capture. So because we have those properties that we capture that value to assist those businesses, That's technically considered an expense, because while they generate taxes, they pay taxes, the taxes do not go to offset the general fund. They're used for specific either business purposes or program purposes. Those funds go into a separate account. So it's considered an expense. It has to come out of the tax commitment. And then education does not have any money in our calculation that has anything to offset it. So the tax bill for the school, the school bill is up $439,843. All of the revenue that's used at the bottom of this are deductions that the municipality uses to offset the municipal process. So the municipal side of the bill. So with the increase, and if you think about some of this increase, quite frankly, this $260,000, remember last year we used $97,000 from ARPA to pay for Delta? Well, we didn't do that this year. So not only did Delta almost double their bill, so that was $161,000, plus the 97 that you used from ARPA that you didn't have anymore, that also went away. That's pretty much almost exactly what the municipal increase is for this year, is that bill. And next year, that will go up again, and we'll have that. And there's no revenue to offset that. So, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I think it is one that when people look at their bill and and for all of us, we're all in it together. I think we're all taxpayers here. So when you look at it, you do a really good job to keep a municipal budget appropriation at a very small increase year over year. I think that's an incredible job. But then you look at the municipal tax portion, goes up at a larger percentage. So I think that's where people have a difficult time looking at their tax bill and kind of going, well, I thought the appropriation only went up 4%. Why did my taxes go up? For the municipal portion of your tax bill, looks like it goes up anywhere from, depending on your property, anywhere from 15 to 25%. So that's the tough one for people to understand. I'm not sure if you can. That's a difficult one to explain.
It is a difficult one to explain simply because of the fact that every single tax bill is different. So the percentage that is on folks' tax bill for that breakdown is a calculation that it is dictated by law, the calculation how we do it, and it is literally that amount of money for the municipality, that amount of money for the school. Wait. I knew I took that down too soon, but okay. Come on. Here we go. So to factor out that percentage, it's literally how much was the county tax bill, how much is the municipal appropriation plus the TIF minus the deductions, which is the revenues, and the education. You add that all up and you divide each one by the total. That's how that percentage hits your tax bill.
And our deductions year over year were less because we lost revenue.
Right.
Therefore, more money had to go to tax appropriation on properties,
So if you look at last year.
from properties.
Yep. Last year, the county tax bill was 13, I think it was listed as like 13.8%. Actually, this calculation on last year's tax bill is not correct, just so everybody knows. But this is how the breakdown works. Our percentage of the bill last year was 28.29, and I think on the tax bill it's listed as 32. And then this year it's at 35.28. So it appears as though it's gone up an extreme amount when you look at it that way. But mainly it's because of the fact that last year we had $5.2 million in revenue to offset our costs. And this year we had 4.4. That's almost $1 million less in revenue. And that was with using the $250,000 from the undesignated fund. The fact that and the biggest hit to that, some of the biggest hits of it is actually the state's revenue sharing contribution. Nobody's really sure why the number projections were so much lower than what we thought they would be. It was actually 300, close to $300,000 less than what we got last year. So to be safe, you cut that down a little bit and don't use it. So we did the 250,000, because revenue sharing money you're required by law to use to offset property taxes. That's why it has its own separate line in the tax commitment form, everything. We're hoping that that projection is wrong and that we actually do receive more, because the state's economy seems to be going fine, because that's what it's based off from. It's our portion of the sales tax that the state collects, and there's a formula that goes with that. And then if we receive more than what they told us and what we used in the tax commitment, those excess revenues go into the undesignated fund balance, and that's how that number grows. So then the council in the following year would use that to offset property taxes. So those funds would still be used, they just get used the following year. So we're hoping that that's wrong and that the projection will go back to where, because we had been on a steady incline. If you look at the spreadsheets in the back of the town report where it lists the last several years, you can see where those numbers were going up, but this year they're definitely down, so.
Yeah, so that's the biggest summary right there. I think we do a good job of budget committee putting together a good budget. The town council working with the budget committee to propose a good budget for the town to vote in a good budget. And then you see like, hey, we've done a great job, and you see your tax bill actually go up more significantly than you thought it would be. I think that's the explanation right there, is that the fact that we have $1 million less of revenue to offset. And so that's a huge portion of that increase. So I think that you can't predict. It relies on the state, and the state has a huge surplus, yet our revenue sharing went down. So we can talk about that another day. Cool question. Yeah, I mean, I think this is important for people to understand. Tim, I know as part of the budget committee, if you have some thoughts.
Is it all right to ask?
You can up it to the mic, though.
Please.
I'd like clarification on, there's a big difference between assessed value and appraised value. And the state is using assessed value. And what I mean, for those that don't understand, is there's a difference when you go get an assessment to buy a mortgage, you get a new home. Your assessed value is not the same. That's something the state and towns use as a formula. So when we talk retail values of homes, we're not at retail value. I'm not clear on why. My other question, 32.5% flat across the board, sounds fantastic. But you take somebody with a $100,000 home, compared to somebody with a $300,000 home, you're tripling their tax burden. So I don't know if a 32.5 flat across the board is really fair when we're doing a reval. Years ago, we had blighted areas on the Main Street side of Fairfield, Shawmut Village. I don't know if those have changed over the course of time. They shifted tax burden out to different areas. And then the other thing I want to remind council of, we used a lot of one-time money, undesignated fund. I don't know what the total amount was. I don't have my chart with me, but I'm going to say $950,000. That's gone. That's one-time money. We're not getting that back for next year. So when we talk about revenue sharing being down, we're already looking at another $1 million in the hole next year because that money's gone. And we've done a great job over COVID. Michelle's used ARPA money. She's done a fantastic job. I sit on the budget committee for a long time. We've been real careful about not creating new positions. But as far as state revenue goes, it's very important. Why aren't we at the $25,000 in homestead exemption? Where do we need to get to instead of 32.5%? Where would we have needed to be to get the remaining money that the state would kick in and reimburse, so we're not losing that portion of revenue? Where do we need to get on the assessed value side of things so we're getting full revenue from the state? Those are my questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Michelle, I'm not sure if you can answer those.
I can explain all of those, hopefully.
I know too many questions.
So, you are correct. An assessed value and appraised value are two totally different things. Oftentimes, if you need an appraisal to get a mortgage, they will come in and they'll say, how much money do you need? And they try to get the appraisal to that number. Assessed value is to be equal to market value. So someone might appraise your house for $150,000, but you sell it for $75,000. Your tax assessment should be at $75,000. Not the 150 for your appraisal, not a 30 for an appraisal. If you sell it for 75, your house should be valued at 75. In the state of Maine, what you cannot do is you cannot say, Carol Ann sold her house today for $150,000. I'm going to now go make her house worth $150,000. You cannot do that. That's called spot assessing, and it's illegal. Because what you have on that tax card that I mentioned, individual little pockets of values, whether it's a metal roof, whether it's a shingle roof, all of those things. And every single one of those values is what was changed by the 32.5%. So you may see a bigger increase in your home if your home originally was made of more expensive product, simply because of the fact that your house was worth more to begin with. It's going to be worth even more from the person next door now. So those are the things. So, and that's the assessed value, market value are to be equal. That's the law. But can't be done instantly, has to be done over time. Appraisals, those are banks, insurance companies, that's not us. That's not anything that we do with. So that across the board, it's not like everybody's tax bill went up 32.5%, because those increments of your value is what changed. So if it was only worth $10, 32.5% of $10 is way different than 32.5% of $100. See that? So that's why people who have higher values saw higher increases, that kind of piece.
Which created higher percentages.
Which did all of those different things. And then in order to get it so that the homestead exemption, you get the full value of the $25,000, we have to be at 100% of assessment in order for you to get the full 25. The state of Maine by law right now only refunds 76%. They created a law last year, this is up, a couple years ago it was only 50%. They created a law last year that said they were to increase another 3% till they got back to the 100. They chose this year not to do that. Because, you know, 55% of education, same rules. So it's, if the state of Maine says, nope, we're not going to put in, and we're not going to increase it to the 79%, then it's not. And so while we use the homestead exemption numbers when we're projecting state revenues, if you look in the back of the book, when you look at the budget and the spreadsheets, and you look at the warrant article, when we vote them at town meeting, it doesn't have a total. State revenues are estimates, because they change all the time, and we have no idea what they're going to be until they lock them in right at the time that the tax commitment is done. That revenue sharing number, I used $1.4 million in the budget, because it was more than what we, less than what we received, but more than last year's projection, thinking they were just going to continue to increase, and they didn't. When the projections came out in July, it was down to 1.3. So we used 1.25, because if you don't receive it, you don't get enough revenues, then that's another whole process we don't want to talk about, and there's another tax bill you'll get next year. But those are those pieces and how that goes. It's not simple. You can't explain tax assessment in 20 minutes. It's a big, long process. I think I got all your questions, Tim. We've got it.
Sabrina?
Yeah, Sabrina Williamson. Do I need to tell my address? No? Yes?
Martin Street.
Martin Street. I'm wondering, I don't know if it's the town or if it's the state, why the senior citizens got their tax freeze taken away from them, and what our town is going to do to try to help our senior citizens as their taxes are going so high. I work with a lot of the seniors in Fairfield. A lot of them don't understand why they're getting this tax raise, where they're going to find the money to pay for it, and how we can actually, as a town, help our senior citizens.
So that was a state program.
1 year.
One year.
1 year.
They were
They
hoping
took
to
it
make
a
it
year.
longer. It lasted 1 year.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of issues with it. One of the things that you could, if you want to have a stable property tax, you could have a house in Millinocket. And it would be a trailer in Millinocket. And you could buy a house in Cape Elizabeth. And you could take that Millinocket property tax with you. And those property taxes were frozen. And so that made it really hard for municipalities to be able to afford, and that affected the property taxes of that new municipality. So that was quickly seen. I don't know why the legislature did not see that ahead of time, but they didn't. And they quickly saw what that was going to do to local property taxes and local funding. And so it was revoked after 1 year. So that's what happened to it.
The state,
And you can correct me on some of that. That's the basic issue with that. Now, I still think that's a really important part, that we need to look at property tax stabilization of some type going forward with our seniors. But it's really tough for our seniors to hear that. And hey, look, my property taxes are frozen. And 1 year later, they're like, ooh, my property taxes aren't frozen. So it's a real kick in the pants to have that. So I see it. And I wish, so that's the next thing at the state level. Because we'd love to have that. We'd love to have that for, hey, I'm not getting any younger either. And so I'd like to have it frozen, but we'll have to continue to work at the state level to do that.
And one of the things, so for the other half of that question, what do we do? So there is the property tax and rent rebate program that the state does offer. You do have to file a state of Maine income tax return in order to get that. We offer space here as long as they come back. AARP is here during tax season. They do taxes right here, right in the conference room. They have 4 or 6 people that come. We offer them that space here free of charge. They'll come in, have folks come in. If you know people that wouldn't necessarily file an income tax return, set up an appointment with them and they will come in and they will help them through that process so that there's a chance that you can get some of those funds back. It is income based. But if the program stands true, it used to be you didn't even have to have paid your taxes, you just simply had to have been billed. And they will refund a portion of that you then in turn can use towards your property taxes. The state of Maine also does have, Maine Revenue does have some various different tax programs that they have available at their level. If we don't have links to them on our website, we can get them up, but Maine Revenue certainly does on the maine.gov website. So there's various different resources for seniors there too.
Good questions. Thanks.
I know Representative Nikki was helping our seniors file for that at the Grange. So she has contacted a lot of seniors to help them out. She still is, so.
So any other questions, comments, concerns? I know there are lots, but I think that was a good breakdown. But I think the biggest part is to ask for questions. So send them to town, send them to me, send them to any council member. So when you have more confusion, like, hey, what about this? You know, I thought of something after I went home. What about this? So please ask, so we can put it on the list, so we can actually answer those questions. I think that's really important.
And the tax assessor typically is here on Fridays, but you can contact the town office at any time during the week. They keep a scheduling list for him, so either A, you can set up an appointment to come in and see him during that day, or schedule a phone call, and he'd be more than happy to talk to folks if they have any questions. But again, look at those tax cards, make sure that what's on there. When they come around to do the reval, and they want to come in and they want to take a look whether your basement's finished, if you feel comfortable, let them in to do that, because it can sometimes make a big difference on what your value is.
Thanks. All right. So moving on to the second part of the seventh order of business, we are going to discuss the housing and town farm property. So Michelle, can you lead us into this?
So back in 2019, 2018. Right, is that when it was? I'm getting there.
Started it.
Yeah, the finally finished, I think, in 2020.
I think it finished in 2020.
Yeah, we discussed it in 19.
But the council had ordered a study to be done on the town farm property, which is located further up 201, in between the Green Road and the Ohio Hill Road. And we had this feasibility study done about redeveloping that piece of property potentially into a housing development. where the municipality would create its own subdivision, we asked Dirigo Engineering to get us the cost of installing utilities. So basically, the municipality would create all of the infrastructure, so roads, electric, what have you, and then sell lots so that folks could come in and build homes. And we would sell those lots based upon the cost of installing the infrastructure. So when this report came out in July of 2020, council discussed it. We started looking towards potential for grants, about starting to do that infrastructure work. And then, of course, if we remember, in October of 2020 is when we found out about PFAS in our community. And one of the field locations that they were investigating happened to abut almost 50% of this property. So it kind of took a bit of a back burner, but this report actually was used when DEP was looking at what they were going to do regarding contaminated wells on Nye Corner. Because this report back then stated the fact that public drinking water expansion from Shawmut to Nye Corner was roughly about $2 million. And at the time, DEP thought they were only dealing with 12 wells, and that it was going to be cheaper for them to install filtration systems instead of extending the public drinking water. Fast forward 4 years later, and we know that that wasn't true. But at the time, this was a great report that came in handy for a lot of different people. It has been sitting on a shelf simply because of the fact that the only way that you could install utilities at that location at this point in time would be for the expansion of public drinking water because of the PFAS contamination levels in the area. Or we would have to do our own internal well and filtration system, and it's just not feasible. And because this community had voted at the time that they didn't want to see the expansion of public drinking water, we know the expansion of public drinking water conversations have been on the back burner. And that's where we are at.
So it was brought forward, so concerns or thoughts from the council, obviously something we want to continue to work on.
Well, I've got two lines of thought here. One is the town farm itself, the property. And then, in light of what the PFAS committee is doing and the recommendations that are going to be made, where do we put this study that we had done? We are not in the real estate business. So for us to hold on to the town farm and make it a development, that's not what a municipality should be using taxpayers' money for. If we're just going to sit on this land, then we're losing revenue, because maybe there's a developer out there that could take this land and develop it. And I think of what the Rangers are doing out and back on Pung Hill. And they're creating this humongous development with about 40 different lots. And I'm thinking, why can't something like that happen out on the town farm road? But I don't think it's up to us to do it as a municipality. So I think we need to discuss what are we going to do with this lot. We've got it all worked out in front of us. The plan is here, the feasibility study. The groundwork has been laid. If a developer wants to come in and take that land and create housing, I think that would be an opportunity for the town to increase our tax bills, not increase the tax bill, but our tax revenues.
Yep.
I'm with Stephanie. We're not in the real estate business. I don't think we should be hanging on to this property. I think we should just get rid of it and make revenue.
I think that's definitely a discussion. One of the biggest things there, I look at a developer, they're probably, if they're trying to develop, they're gonna have to put in a water system.
Right.
I guess that's up to them.
And
But
the
I think also-
feasibility
yeah.
study mentions that there's different options for a
Right.
water
It does.
system. It doesn't have to be just the public water going out, but there's water from Goodwill Hinckley and private wells. But again, I don't know how the
That was also
PFAS thing. Pre-PFAS.
PFAS. So those,
Yes.
those items that have discussed in here may not actually be
They're not
viable
feasible,
anymore.
right.
But
I think the
And
other-
just so, another piece of information so folks are aware, the town farm is literally that. It used to be a farm. So in municipalities, if you had folks who were homeless, indigent, unable to pay their taxes, that sort of stuff, they were sent there to live and work the farm. And so they were given a roof over their head and they worked the farm. That's exactly what it was. So there is an old foundation there that's historical, and there's various different components from where the farm used to be on the lot, but the rest of it is just vegetation at this point.
So,
So I think that's one of the things I would think about for the Economic Development Committee as well, if there's anything, and if there's any use for it, whether there's other multiple uses for the.
as a municipality to use it
Yeah,
for?
right. I don't think there are, but I'm just saying, I'm just throwing out that, whether that's, something that the Economic Development Committee wants to look at. Something that's fair. But I do look at the fact that it is a property that's sitting there, that's, we're not in the real estate business.
At the time when the council looked at it, it was because of the fact that the housing market is so miserable, and we thought that it would be, the council thought that it would use to help promote the construction of new homes. And it is still lacking. We know that the new home construction is minimal, and we're lacking housing in this area. The Central Maine Growth Council recently, at their last meeting, actually discussed this project and whether or not it was something they could assist with waking it back up, or whether anything was going on with it, because they're also looking for land in which, developers could be involved and get those things done, so.
So if the Central Maine Growth Council is looking at that, then why aren't we promoting that land to be sold?
Because that wasn't the council's direction at the time.
Which is why it's good to bring it back up.
Yeah, so,
So we're, I agree, we're not in the business of real estate, all that, et cetera. Looking at the details, it says the plan allows for approximately 58 lots, et cetera, since we would need to do public water there. And this is 2020 cost.
Right.
$11.1 million, which would be per lot $191,000 at 2020 values. That's just not feasible.
So it wasn't anything that was going to be done with taxpayer dollars. It was, at the time, go get those grants
Right.
to start doing the pieces and stuff. Yep.
but a lot of times grants are matching grants.
Right, so we'd still be on the hook for
So
something.
we'd still have,
And
we'd
that's,
still have to
again,
pay.
we've seen costs of things over the last 4 years. That's $11.1 million 4 years ago. I don't even want to think about that now.
Well, public drinking water 3 years ago was 40, so,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you want the Economic Committee to go and take a look at how to use this land, I think we know how it needs to be used.
I'm just throwing that out there to you if you had any interest from the committee.
I think
in
it
other
needs to
things.
come more specific, I think we need more
more from the
specifics at this point, otherwise we're looking at just, we're not doing anything that hasn't already been discussed.
Right.
It might take another 5, 6 months with the discussion too, and
Well,
something else can
the
be
end of
done
the
with it.
year's coming up, so we can have a goal, but I just think that we're wasting time.
Yep.
And,
Kicking the can.
So you
Yeah.
can, so would you like to, we can, whether it has become an issue for the next meeting, but do you want to move forward, like having an RFP for finding a realtor or trying to sell it
Just
ourselves?
need to get a real estate agent.
Yeah.
What's the actual size overall of the entire,
It's like almost 140 acres.
But only about a quarter can be used, it's a little bit small.
Yeah, some of it's not usable.
I do think, if before we would do that, we probably would have to have a public hearing of. Well,
There's a lot of
No.
wetlands in there.
You don't have to, but you certainly
But I think
could.
it might be,
Yep.
in the transparency we all talk about, there are some other issues, and people, I've heard people talk about the farm and what else it could be used for, and at least those people could have a chance to
Especially the
express.
residents that live out that way.
Right, so they should have a chance to express some of their feelings about that. So I think that'd be wise, but it doesn't really set us back much. One
I mean,
basically step from the next town meeting. council
I
meeting.
like that idea,
So-
put it out to
I like that
a
idea.
public hearing.
A ton better than putting a committee together and then dealing with it in a year.
Right.
We've heard that feedback too, and that's just not
Yeah.
the road we want to go down.
So we'd like to have it as a public hearing.
Let's do a public hearing.
Item.
Public informational meeting.
Meeting, yeah, the next meeting.
At the
next
next
meeting.
meeting and hear what the public has to say about it. And then, because maybe some people have ideas that they would like to have, bring forward so that we can understand more about how to use the land. And if, maybe people just think we need to sell it. I'd like to have verification of that as well, affirmation. So,
Yep,
yeah,
would agree.
so.
Easily done.
Does that work for you?
It does, but we also have this, and maybe we can have some input on the public water thing as well, because they kind of go hand in hand, the expansion of
Well,
public water.
the hardest part we had with the public water was the fact that when they run public water out, if you're sitting there in your house and you have a well, public water says you have to take the
connected.
Right.
public water, and that's where the problem was coming in. At that time, too, was that couldn't get all of the houses that were running along the public water to take the
And
public water.
The law
And
doesn't
public water's
actually
not
say
gonna run it if they don't get it.
Yeah, but you said it's the law?
It's not the law.
It's not, it's
The
what they
water
were
district
saying.
wanted us to create an ordinance making it a
Well, it's there,
requirement.
it's the water districts.
Right, but it's not a law.
It's not a law, but it's a water district, so.
And it's
Just
actually
even give them options
illegal.
too if they
But
want.
anyway.
But I'm wondering, the public water companies have gotten money from the federal government for the expansion of public water. I wonder if that would hold true today.
Well, this was
This
back
was what,
a few
3 years ago?
At least 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Longer than that.
Would it
but
hold true today?
Don't know.
I think
it's
your
so-
public water conversation and this conversation are two totally different conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So we should hear a public hearing next time. If there people have comments, they get a chance to be able to have their comment, to be part of the hearing, and then we can hopefully move forward from there. And I think we can move forward fairly rapidly.
After the public hearing, would we still have it under other council business for discussion of what was said? Or would it
Or are you
have to
going to
go?
want an action item?
Action item.
Action item
You
6.
want it as an action item?
Although you're going to need to, if you do decide to sell it, you need to set parameters. So
Right.
Do we need to
Do
go
we need
into
an
executive?
executive session on that?
you'll need to
too?
let me think about how we're going to structure that,
Right,
and we'll get it back
that's
to you.
right, because we can't talk
Right, because
dollars.
we did that on the Good House. We had
Right, so
one
we'd have to go in
executive session.
executive session.
That's probably more than likely what it's going to end up being. It doesn't mean you can't still have discussion when you come out, but
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good discussion. And moving forward, actually, on it, so that's good. So the next part is to discuss other council business. John, do you have other council business to discuss?
Yeah, well, right now, what I would really like to do is to send a thank you to our former town clerk, Christine Keller, who 12 years did a very, very good job here, kept everything in order, ran all of the elections very well. We had no problems with the elections and things like that, and she just did a tremendous job, and I'd just like to thank her for her service, the 12 years that she was with us.
Would you want that in form of a letter from the council, and we sign it?
I suppose you could, yeah. I was just,
We need it. Was it you, we need anything from legislature Solomon or something, or just a thank you from?
I think it was probably just a thank you.
Council,
A card?
Yeah.
Or a letter? Or
Yeah,
Card?
well, card or a letter, doesn't,
Card or a letter. Okay.
Correspondence.
Some kind of correspondence.
Perfect.
Okay,
Very good.
yeah.
Thank you, John.
so, I agree. She should have a thank you.
Stephanie?
Okay. I'd like to talk about the survey and the creation of the Parks and Rec Department. And to clarify, I heard what I think there's been some discrepancies. In the creation of in the discussion for a creation of a Parks and Rec department, and in accordance with what is written in the comprehensive plan, it's to work with PAL, not to eliminate PAL, but to work with PAL as an extension of the Parks and Rec department. So if people are thinking that the intent was to get rid of PAL, that is not the intent. The intent is to work with PAL for the future if we have a Parks and Rec. So, and I understand that there was some people that were saying that we were going to take it over, and we don't want that. Again, we're not in the real estate business, and we're not in that business also of funding the PAL. That would be a major increase in taxation if that were the case, because they have quite a budget themselves. So, but it's to work with PAL.
Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Adam?
I've got a couple things. I wanted to take a moment and appreciate and celebrate a new business coming to town. I encourage anyone to reach out anytime new businesses are coming to town so we can recognize them. There's a soft opening tomorrow for Lasting Impressions at 233 Main Street, right across from the one of many Circle K's, but the one downtown. From 1 to 7 tomorrow. She moved her business from Waterville. Love to see people there. I know I'll be attending. I did want to take a moment, you actually kind of segued earlier about the executive session. I would like us to have a discussion about transparency on executive sessions. I understand that there are things inside that we do not discuss, and that is clear. Once we come out of executive sessions and do voting and discussions like that, there's quite a few residents who have expressed the feeling of being in the dark on those. They do certainly review the minutes, but those aren't available until well after. For example, the Good House, I had quite a few residents reaching out to me not realizing that we had decided to go to RFP to tear it down. I would like to see if there's a way for us to either post something on the website or something just with a recap afterwards of those things. Because at this time, what it's been is people talking about it on Facebook, which I just don't think is the right avenue for us to do.
Are those folks aware that when you come out of your executive session, that portion of the meeting is still back open to the public?
I would probably imagine they're not aware of that.
Yeah. And that's the other thing.
They do end up just leaving.
And that is usually what happens. That is the case.
Do we start recording again for Crossroads TV?
No, we do not, because depending on how long you're in here, Chad goes home.
Okay.
But that is still part of a public meeting, but we could certainly.
Could we?
I'll let you go ahead. I was going to let Adam roll if he had some other things, but yes.
No, I just wanted to then repeat one more time. Monday, the 16th at 6 p.m. Thank you, Carolyn, for bringing that up. I want to thank Matt and Sarah Tully. They did a great job last year spearheading that. I'm looking forward to even more commitment from the rest of the community and the council this year. I think we had a lot of involvement last year, and I'm looking forward to how great we can look, especially with some enhancements all around the park.
Thank you, Adam. If you had quick statements, if you had.
I was just piggybacking on from what Adam was saying. Maybe we could put the results of the executive session in the agenda.
Yes, so that was one of the, I apologize, that was one of the recommendations, is like an old business or something like that. I've seen that in other towns' agendas, as well as, I want to say even our planning board might have an old business segment on there.
But that agenda and those minutes are available at the same exact time.
Right.
Is there a violation that I've made too for executive session, leaking out information, or?
It is a violation of executive sessions to discuss what was talked about in an executive session, but it's not a violation of executive sessions to talk about the vote that you took in a public meeting.
Because we come out of executive session to make the vote. That is what I want to be clear. That's what I would like to see more transparently shared with the public, rather than them having to wait a full month to find out, and if they even look. Right.
Right, so I mean, I think they always think that's posted fairly quickly to the website, but then how many people go? So I think there's got to be a better way of trying to.
Are the meeting minutes posted before they're approved?
Usually the minutes have to be.
No, so it's
First and signed.
But the
2 weeks,
results
sorry.
of that would be if
weeks.
anybody called, right? Like, we would
If
tell
somebody
them.
called, yeah.
We can
I don't
provide
want to make anyone
a
jump through
draft set of the minutes, but we don't make drafts available.
Yes, and it's
Because sometimes those aren't even available until the following week.
It's usually 2 weeks until the next meeting.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
So, but there should be a better way to get that kind of information out. So we should think about that. I think it's good so that people find out information as fast as possible. So there's more transparency, right? So if we can figure out a way to do that and make it work, then let's see if we can do that.
That's all I got.
Thanks.
Okay, I got a few. This has always been an ongoing issue. Up on the Miller Road, connecting to the Northbrook Road, and down the Oakland Road, across the Ohio Hill Road. A lot of accidents lately. And residents are concerned, is any chance of DOT doing another study or doing something up there before another death or more accidents happen? Because I know Stephanie and I, we could hear the ambulance and the fire trucks going by our house constantly, 3 times a day. Heading right to the Northbrook Road, so.
DOT would do a safety study based upon the road's topography, layout, that sort of stuff. What they cannot do is come in and do a study based upon driver inattention. And most of the time, these accidents have nothing to do with the road layout, visibility, or any of that. It is driver inattention, drivers not doing what they are supposed to be doing when you're supposed to be driving. And that's what most all of these accidents are.
That's just an ongoing question of the residents.
The one look would be looking north towards Norwich Walk, coming off the middle road if you're turning left, heading towards Fairfield.
Because we got very small vehicles,
There's a
my
little
vehicle's
curve.
high enough, I can look down.
So it can be consideration.
And I believe because I think the police department was asked about that, and they actually had stated that it was driver inattention, nothing to do with the road for those last couple.
Okay, I thought I'd bring that up.
We can always, those are things to
Right.
bring up.
Update on the fire station, because I know at one council meeting we had an update on the foundation of the fire station.
Nothing new to report on that.
Nothing yet?
Nope.
Okay. Well, any more RFPs? I know we requested someone.
No, those RFPs have taken a back burner over the course of the last month based upon the current circumstances that were going on up at the town office.
All right.
So we'll hopefully get back to those just as soon as we can.
Okay, I know Stephanie remembers, we had a meeting with the school board before their budget, talking about the primary school. And I heard, I know the superintendent is supposed to come talk to the council, that's the recommendation. I know she talked to us, that she should be coming to the council before anything does to that primary school. I'm hearing now that she told the teachers that she's waiting for the town information on the primary school if the town wants it. So I'm just wondering, will the superintendent come to us on her
I have no idea.
recommendation? What's that?
I have no idea. I haven't heard from them on any of it.
Because I know, I heard that the teachers have been told already, waiting on us. Wait for the town.
So heard, or is it actually?
I heard it from.
And are you saying she has to come to the council
Sure.
before they make a decision?
No.
No. I
That is
think
a-
that's what he just said.
That is a school property too.
Correct.
If she wants to, she needs to close it. And if she wants the town to take it over, she needs to come in
Correct,
front
yes.
of us.
If
And
yes.
but the rumors going now.
If they want the town to take
that
over or go through a private
she's
development.
waiting for us.
Yeah.
And we didn't have heard anything yet. So-
Do you want it?
No,
No, we need
we're
some
not in the real
clarification.
estate business.
Right, we just need clarification from her because there's rumors going around, so.
Yeah, I think that's important to say, rumors going around.
Yes,
Right.
yep, so,
I would think that they would sell the school and
Yes.
use the money
Right.
to
Yes.
lower their
Oh,
taxation. their
yes, there's a
costs.
whole back building that is not condemned.
And another question too, about, since we're not in the real estate business, all the town-owned properties we have, we're hanging on to. I know some businesses are hurting on parking and things like that. I'm just wondering, any chance we can get rid of some of our town-owned property to help our revenue for the town?
Do you have some examples?
That's what I'm asking.
Do you have some examples we can go from?
Which ones? Like,
I'm just asking because I don't know the town properties we own. I know a few.
we don't have that many tax foreclosed properties, and those, at this point, if they sell, have to go through a real estate agent. But that's it.
A significant portion of the ones we do own are municipal buildings, properties,
Right.
cemeteries.
Cemeteries,
I know
pump
we got-
stations.
I know we got a few sitting on 201 and things like that, still sitting up there.
You'd have to be more specific. I know.
Since next to the,
Freehoffice, next to Freehoffice, there's some land on 201.
next to the,
Well, right where Freehoffice was.
Is there a way for us to, I mean, I know we can look at it on the tax maps of the town of Fairfield's own property. Are you looking for like a list from the
I was
town?
asking because I know we get some out there and some are not being used or next to a business.
So annually, when we foreclose, they go out to bid. 9 times out of 10, the property owners buy them back. There's not that many that we own that are just
I think
vacant
a while
lots.
back you gave us a list of.
I think we did, not that long
So
ago.
would you like?
But we can certainly get you another one. I don't think it's changed, but
Would
Do you
like
want
that?
another list?
yeah.
Is that what you're asking for? Because
Yeah,
that's, if
I
that's
don't think
what
it's
you're asking for,
changed.
that'd be fine. Yeah, I think that'd be important.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can look at that because there are ways we can help, economic development. if
Yeah,
they're-
and I have one more thing.
Sure.
In my laundry list of a couple meetings ago, of things that we need to talk about, I would like to have a discussion next time about raising the fire station floor and having like TC Hafford come, the basementy people, they give free estimates and just get their opinion.
I don't think that that's something that they will do.
But we
that's
don't know until we ask.
That's the RFP that you wanted me to put together to put out.
Oh, was that the RFP?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Correction there. All right, thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
done.
Those
thumbs
good,
up.
those are good. So I think on my end is actually, my first part would be transparency. So some of the things we had asked, and I think we've tried to do a good job, and it's things you get used to doing, and you're in your comfort zone. So I like it when people ask questions and promote ideas, and go, okay, that's something different. There's no reason why we can't do that. So some of the things that we have done, like posting the meeting materials prior to the meeting. Hopefully, I'm not sure if everybody knew where those were, but those were available, so you can see what we have, so you can actually have a chance to research a little bit and understand what we're looking at. So I think that's huge. Executive session, we talked about the votes after. That's always been the way it's been done. I've only been on the the council for 3 years, but we finish up with an executive session. If we had a vote that came out after the executive session, that's the way we did it. And that's just, hey, that's the way it's been done for I don't know how long, but there's no reason why we can't look at doing something different. So there's a chance for us to do that and be transparent about those decisions. There's nothing trying to be hidden. It's just the fact that we take the votes after executive session. Everybody else is already home eating dinner, and we're still here. So there's no attempt to hide, but I think it's the way things have worked. But how can we do a better job? So if we can find a way to do a better job, that's important. The last one I do think is another one that came up. We should work on as being part of our agenda. Actually, is old business, so that we can bring up, make sure we have basically follow-ups on things like the ambulance. Where does it stand? I know it's in the town manager's, minutes on the town manager's report, but where do we stand on the ambulance? The community center updates, the things like, you're talking about real estate, you're talking about the different RFPs. So we can have that as an old business, and we can give those updates, and so people can understand where those are and how as they've progressed and how we're moving along. So they're just not forgotten. Just the same thing why we established some of the committees we established, because there are items that had been out there, like PFAS, like the building committee, that had been worked on, but then had kind of vanished a little bit, and so it's a chance to bring those back up. So I think having old business as part of our agenda would be a wise thing for us to do, and also keep the town involved. So those are some of the things I would like to say. I think it's also important at this point, 9/11, definitely the The importance of the date is not lost upon me. I hope it's not lost upon you. But one of the things I see are in the local area that, it's amazing to see some of the comments, the accusations, the character assassinations, all for the betterment of the town. We can be better. We need to be better. And I hope we will be better. For me, I'll just talk about myself. The fact that I've seen things on social media where people talk about sticking a shock collar on Dr. T at the table and see, like, hey, let's see what we can do about making him jump like he has Tourette's. It's all fun and games, right? So when things like said like that, do I still represent the person that puts those things on social media? Yeah, I do. Some of those people that are involved with that, did I still listen to them when they sent me messages about issues with their pets, with their family? Did I help them bring a generator to their houses? Did I get a pump for them when they were flooding in this January? Yeah, I did, because they're all part of the town, and I represent them, and I'm their neighbor, right? So when I hear those kind of things, I just know that we can be better, that the people here serve you. We work hard to serve you. I want us to be the people that we were on 9/12, the day after, when we all gathered together to work for a better community. That's all I have to say about that. It's really important to me. I'm here to serve. We are all here to serve. We can assassinate our characters, put people down, say horrible things on social media. It does no good. Let's work together, ask questions, and assume good intent. So thank you for all being here tonight. I appreciate you being here and being part of the process.
And we are going to executive session, so as we
You
said.
don't need
So
one.
Oh, we don't need
You don't need one. You're not going to need your executive session.
Okay, so don't stick around and wait
So-
for nothing.
I mean, you can wait, but.
You guys can rush it out. We can chat if you want.
But you're not
I'll
going
be
to,
here.
the stuff that I was hoping that I would have for you didn't come through.
Okay.
The next meeting of the Fairfield Town Council will be on Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. And it'll be held as a hybrid meeting in the council chambers and via Zoom at 6:30 PM. This time we'll recess.
So move.
So moved. Second.
After.